Hello and welcome to my channel. Welcome to the Digital Blackmagic channel. My name is Christoph Esch and today we're going to install Windows 10 on a laptop. The laptop is a Samsung R540 and it's a few years old. It contains the first generation of Intel Core i chips, 4 gigs of RAM and a spinning hard disk. Let's get right to it. This is a Samsung R540 I mentioned before. We're going to install Windows 10 on this machine. The Windows 10 installation files are sitting on a USB stick which I already plugged in to the computer. The USB key does not contain Windows alone. It contains several utilities which come in handy when you work with computers. This is a bootloader of the USB key. Now I select the Windows images. As you can see, there are several Windows 10 images. We need the 64-bit version of Windows 10 for this computer. I select a slightly outdated version of Windows because the current version, also known as 1809, suffers some issues. Please follow the info card to get my take on Windows feature updates and the configuration of the Windows Update dialog in Windows 10. After I selected Windows 10 64-bit version 1803 to be precise, the setup starts just normally like it would start when you had downloaded the Windows Media using Microsoft's Windows Media Creation tool. The system is going to be used by a German, so everything set to Deutsch, the setup's preset, is fine with me. After the selection, we click Jetzt installieren, which means install now. I presume Windows 10 will work fine on the machine, but since I don't know exactly, I'm not going to put a license key here. Therefore, I select I don't have a license key, which is Ich habe kein Produktkey in the German version. This skips the license key dialog. Now I will just select Windows 10 Pro as the edition to install and continue the installation. In this dialog I choose a second option, which is user-defined or advanced. The reason for that is that I don't want to install Windows with the previous Windows 7 installation as a basis. I want to set up Windows 10 on a fresh machine. In this dialog, you can select the partition or disk space where to put the new Windows installation. On top you can find the recovery partition. I will leave that alone. The recovery partition contains the factory default settings of this machine, which means if you really wanted to go back to Windows 7, you could by installing the factory default. All the other partitions are going to go away. By the looks of it, this computer has two hard disks, one 320GB hard disk and one 500GB hard disk. This looks strange to me because the computer is too small to house two hard disks and it is too old to have SSDs installed, which may be smaller. My decision is to switch off the machine and check the BIOS for any hint regarding the hard disks. A common problem with BIOSes is that there is no standard. So every machine may have a different BIOS. Usually the hard disks are found in the first section, which is System Information. But not in this case. I did not find any hint whatsoever in these BIOS. While skimming through the BIOS, it came into my mind that the 500 GB hard drive, would be my huge USB key I plugged into the computer previously. With the new information, all we need to do is get back to where we left the setup. As we found out, the only hard disk in the computer is a 320 gig. So there is where Windows is going to be installed. Even if I wanted to, I could not install Windows on the USB key. Prior to this installation, I performed a backup of all the data using TrueImage by Acronis. In a future video, I'm going to show how I did that. Acronis TrueImage is one of the tools I carry around on the USB stick previously mentioned. Now the Windows installation will run automatically. It will take time to install Windows on this old machine because it is just an old machine and therefore slow. This is a first generation Core i3 with 4 gigs of RAM. Laptops today have the 7th generation and at least 8 gigs of RAM. This restart ended up in the USB keys boot menu. That is not where I want to go, so I switch off the computer and eject the USB key. Now Windows setup will complete and we will end up with Cortana asking us stupid questions.
Hallo, ich bin Cortana und ich bin hier, um dich zu unterstützen. Eine Anmeldung hier, etwas WLAN da und schon ist dein PC betriebsklar.
Unfortunately, my camera did not record the ending of the setup. Setup is now complete. We are connected to the internet. I already downloaded 2 drivers, one by Intall, which is the manufacturer of the CPU and interface chipset, as well as the driver for the graphics card, which is an AMD Radeon 5450. The external hard disk contains the downloaded drivers and the Acronis image of the system. I will start with the Intall drivers because the chipset provided by Intall is the key component for the machine. The usual license agreement shall be passed. After that, you are prompted with a dialog that warns you that changes are going to be made to your computer. So please watch this dialog carefully and make your decision wisely. In this case, we don't have a problem with changes to the computer because we want to install drivers. No, I'm not going to be part of any survey, so I skip that one. Intall's tool uses Microsoft Edge as a platform. It also shows all known hardware it detected. At the end of the day, all drivers are current, and that is what I wanted to know. So Windows 10 already installed all current drivers. This is only regarding the drivers provided by Intall. Up next will be the installation of the graphics card by AMD. For some reason, Windows has a problem verifying the AMD driver. I know that I downloaded the driver from the genuine AMD page, so I ignore that warning and I execute the driver installation file. The next warning again is the warning regarding the changes to the system. As we did before, we know that we want to install a driver. Therefore, it is not a problem to go ahead with the installation. Now it's the usual deal with the installation process. You just follow the instructions on the screen. The goal is to have the driver installed at the end of the day. First, the driver is extracted. The installation process of a driver doesn't differ from an installation process of, let's say, an Office suite. Now you select the language within the driver installation, which is again German. I am perfectly fine with the destination of the driver software, and the express installation is fine as well. Now again we have license agreements to approve, and we sit and wait. The flickering of the screen provides a hint to an update of the graphic drivers. That's exactly what I wanted. The installation will be completed once the system has rebooted. I updated Intall's and AMD's drivers for the system. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the device manager for unidentified hardware. If we had unidentified hardware in the system, we would see question marks in the tree. But the tree is fully collapsed and there are no question marks or exclamation marks or hints. So the hardware looks okay. Now I'm sure that Windows 10 works with the machine. We have all the drivers. The next thing we're going to do is we check for updates, because as mentioned previously, we are running an outdated version of Windows 10. To check for updates, I put update in the search menu. It comes up just underneath the mouse, so I click on search for updates, or in German, nach Updates suchen. A number of the updates are available. The reason for that is that Microsoft releases Windows 10 when it's done and finished, but the software continuously changes. So if something has changed, Microsoft provides an update. And no matter what version of Windows 10 you are initially installing, you will end up with the current set of software after you installed all the updates. That is where I'm going to end the video. I'm happy to announce that there is one system less in the recycle center and we have a Windows 10 running. Please keep in mind that old computers may be just fine for your purposes. In contrast to mobile devices, there is no such thing as a planned obsolescence yet in the PC hardware. I hope you have a fantastic day and talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and please like my videos. Thank you.